this. Well, we're here now, we're recording. So welcome to today's community call. And I want to thank all of you guys for spending some time with us this afternoon, this evening. We do these every month, and we bring the One Life community together on a online call, and really as an opportunity for people to get together, to reconnect. I just saw a post from Brandy Salazar, who's going to be one of our workshop presenters. She was in the One Life community 6 years ago, and they would actually get together in person for these calls. And 6 years later, we're still doing the online calls. And we want to encourage you guys to find ways to get and stay connected with the One Life community, because the people really can elevate you in all those different areas. So with that being said, today's call is a kind of a continuation from November's call, where we introduced the concept of vision planning. And today we're going to kind of dive a little bit deeper into what are the different stages, maybe of a fulfilling life, right? The different stages and the quarters of life. And we're going to talk about, the specific steps and the path to financial freedom. Tim's going to be sharing today really how he's been able to accelerate himself along that path, and things that you guys can do as well. And one of the big things that we wanted to do is give you guys an opportunity, though, to ask questions and to really make this about where you're at, and what you're doing and what you're focusing on. So I want to encourage you guys to fill up the chat with things that you either note, or golden nuggets, or definitely questions that you guys have that Tim wants to, or that you want Tim to get into as well. And so we'll have Tim take it away a little bit. And we're going to, if you guys were not here on the last call, don't worry. We're going to recap and review a lot of what we went over, and then we'll dive into some new stuff, and obviously have some room for questions at the end. So Tim, looks like I stalled for long enough. You ready to rock?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you good.
Cool.
All right. So I have the slides there in the, I'll throw the link there into the chat as well, so you guys can get them, and then we'll make sure that we send them out as well. And then the rest is yours, Tim. Take it over.
Cool. Hey, Hector, before I forget, did you get the what Casey sent over in the last hour? It was something I had done with the Goods in the Woods legacy building thing, and it was something I wanted to make sure we left them with that wasn't in all of this.
I have it, and I can get them a link to it by the end of the call, and then we can send it out and make sure that it's in the recap and everything.
Cool.
So yes.
Well, like Hector said, if you have questions, just put them in the chat as we go. And our whole outcome is just helping you guys, dial in your best game. We had written our outcome for you is live a life worth chronicling and a legacy worthy of leaving. So think about that and what you're doing, and who's taking who's along this ride with you, and what are you teaching them? So please look at it in that realm. Whoever's the host, could you please hit record?
We're rolling.
Oh, thank you. I couldn't see that. So anyway, that's our outcome for you. There's three main things we're going to go over tonight, and one of them is how to dial in your marathon and sprint plan. And that's the question, where am I going with all of this? And what steps along the way do I need to ensure my long-term success? That's the number one thing we're going to go over tonight. Number two is, how can I maximize my financial gain to ensure I get what I want to get in life? And tonight we're going to go really deep into that. Last time we kind of touched on it as part of our core 4 teachings. It's so important in the back office of creating your one life fully lived. We want to spend a lot of time on that tonight, on really helping you dial in your game plan for getting something. And number 3, how can I incorporate the people I need to join me on this journey, and how can I thoroughly enjoy the ride along the way? And if you look at it, we're covering the core 4 areas that we teach, but we're going to be weaving them in really focusing on the financial piece tonight. Okay. So if you have any questions, please let us know. And just to review quickly, the next slide is going to give you your mission, if you choose to take it, is to figure out where do you fit. Where will you thrive? Where do your passions meet your talents? Where there's opportunity in the marketplace. And if you look at it in the middle, that's fulfillment. Where do your passions meet your talents? Where there's opportunity. Think of people you know in your life that are just so dialed into what they do. They love it. And think of people in your life, maybe it's you, who one of those pieces is missing. You're just not in your element of what you were put here to do. And sometimes it takes, doing what you're doing today and juggling what's next to get to this. And just think about what that may mean to you. So what you're after is fulfillment. How you're going to do it is through our One Life Core 4. And that's answering vision planning. Where am I going with all this? Relationships, who's going there with me? Finances, how can I rock it? And wellness, how can I be healthy in my mind, body, and spirit? So this is One Life's core teachings. We teach these to people just getting out in the world, people like you who are either on your way or well on your way to this. And someday we're going to be teaching pro athletes, doctors, the LA Rams, Hector, and teaching those at a, living large right now, but having a short period, how they can master these things, because this stuff's important to everybody. So that's the basics of the back office of running your One Life fully lived. Next slide, Hector. So another review thing. Last time on the call, we had you look at where are you on the 5 levels of financial freedom. Are you just starting out? Number 1, are you an apprentice? And you can look these over yourself. Number 2, are you a financial journeyman? Are you a financial star? Or are you a financial superstar? And maybe you're just a rookie or an apprentice now. Tonight, I want you to look at how can I go from a rookie to an apprentice to a journeyman by the end of this year, maybe by the end of next year? And how can I be a financial star or a superstar over the next 5 to 10 years? This stuff doesn't happen overnight, you guys. There's no such thing as get rich quick. And whenever you see somebody selling get rich quick and they've got boats and RVs and all the trappings of life, just turn the freaking page. It's all BS. They're selling the wrong dream, because that's not what this looks like, okay? All right, keep going, Hector. So when I was talking about, the different levels of getting there, maybe you're just starting out. Maybe you're a youngster whose parents drug you into this webinar. You're just learning all of this, just figuring out where do I fit in that fulfillment triangle, just working on those core 4 things. If you find yourself in the second quarter of life, you should be on your way to dialing this stuff in. Where am I going? Who's going with me? How can I earn? How can I invest? How can I be healthy? You're on your way towards all of this. And maybe you're in the third quarter, and financially or health-wise, you're not quite where you should be, or you don't have the right posse. You guys, that's okay. Maybe you're 52 years old watching this thinking, man, there's some kids in their 20s and 30s that are, quote, doing better. The race is with you. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Play your own game, and there's nobody that says if you are 52 years old, you can't course correct and fix some things behind you and move the ball down the court to where when you're 60, you're 65, you're where you thought you might be at, let's say 50, okay? So we all find ourselves in different places along the path of our one life fully lived. It's just a matter of knowing where you are, and you do that by taking assessments like we had for you, and figuring out what's most important to you and how are you going to get after it. And our goal for you is for some of us, by the third quarter and fourth quarter, we're done financially. And imagine that. If you got to spend your third quarter, or even maybe just your fourth quarter, totally financially free, not having to worry about that piece, what would it look like? And that's what we want to help you with tonight. So let's move on, Hector. My goodness. So it all starts with a dream. Many of you know my story. I was living down in a town called Manteca, which means lard in Spanish. No offense to anybody that may be from my old area still listening to this, but I was not where I wanted to be in life. I was living in a place where I didn't like living. I was done selling real estate. I was just bored with it, and I wanted the next piece of this. And in a bad place, I wrote out, we were not getting anywhere financially. We were just dog paddling, and I wrote out what my magnificent future would look like. I'd be living in the mountains with an inspiring view that I'm looking at right now, with my family all around, doing what I want to do every day. And I wrote that plan in 97, and I accomplished it in 8 years. And if you guys look around this community, there's a guy named Casey McCoy that wrote how he did his dream in the comments of one of the posts today in the One Life community. I know Shawn is on here, and I can't see everybody, but there's others who are well on their way to living the dreams that they made for themselves 4 or 5 years ago. It takes action. Okay. So the first step is writing out your dream and having a big why. And then the next step, Hector, is if you have a dream, you have to have a written plan. The plan that I spoke of, I called it my magnificent future plan. For me, it was a 10-year vision of where I'd be. We'd be living up in the mountains. Maybe you're 32 years old and you want to when you're 40. Maybe you're 32 years old and you have young kids, and it's, what will my life be like when the kids are gone at 50? But I want you to have an amazing, magnificent future, big, wide dream that you're shooting towards. That's that, and make it hairy and audacious, you guys. Go for the gold. If you could have everything you wanted, what would it look like? And write it out. And then change your state and write it and look at it again. Go for a hike, go for a walk, drink a glass of wine. Different states. Show it to your spouse. Show it to your mastermind group. Internalize it. Dream about it, literally. And then the more you think about this and you look at it over and over, and you course correct, and you go away and look at it on vacation when you're away from your everyday world, then you're gonna it's just gonna all materialize all the better. So on the left, think about 3 things. It's a marathon, not a sprint. All of your actions are based on the long-term plan. This is a huge piece of this, you guys. This stuff takes work. It doesn't happen without lots of effort. You write out the long plan, and then you write out, and it's January. It's a great time if you haven't done it. What will I do in 2020? What will I do in January? What will I do this week? And every day, either at the end of the day or early next morning, what will I do today that will get me towards what I said I'd do this week? That's going towards what I said I'd do this month. That's going towards what I'm doing this year. That fits into where am I going with this big picture. I know this is work, you guys, but this is the business of running your life. It's a side job. It's the most important job you have. Think about this.
Tim, I want to jump in just on this, because I think one thing that you highlighted, but I'd like to really emphasize is the writing down part. At our retreat this past summer, we went over these, and I don't know, Tim, I think you shared yours, but we actually had a few of the One Life team share theirs, and I hadn't actually written it down yet. And the act of, whether you put it into a Google Doc or you get some notes on your phone, but that actual writing it down and taking it out of your head and putting it onto some paper, and then being able to read it afterwards, like you mentioned, I think is, really accelerates it or emphasizes the effect that it has.
And not only that, but going back and critiquing. Like if you make a 1-year plan, in October of this year, I went back and looked at what did I say I was going to do in 2019. Did this, didn't do this, and then I make my 2020 plan, and then in January, it's what am I going to do in January? And on the end of January, I'd go back and critique what exactly did I do in the areas that matter the most, and what am I doing in February, if that makes sense. And then every week, like on Sunday, is what, just transferring over. And sometimes you're going to be less on this than others. I found the more I did stuff like this, the more things that I want to do came together, especially when we get to the financial piece. I'll go over some of the stuff we did there that really made the difference. So Hector, unless you have anything else, scroll down just a bit. So we're at step 3, offense. If you remember, step 1 was the dream. Step 2 is the plan. Step 3 is offense. How can I earn more? Think of abundant mindset instead of a scarcity mindset. I know people, many of you know a guy named David Green. He's the host of Bigger Pockets. He wrote an amazing book about out-of-state investing. He's just absolutely crushing it. I've known Green, he's now like 36, 37. I've known him since he is 18. He played incredible defense, but how can I put this? Just went more for living within his means than increasing his offense, because he's just working really hard as a cop. And I think there's a better way to do it if you find other income streams, which David did over time through real estate. But at first, all he did was work a tremendous amount of hours. And man, that may not be the best way to do this. So you want to, a lot of this is written for people in sales, but if you are in sales, you'll want to increase your income by using key performance indicators. How many contacts do I need to talk to? How many appointments do I need to make? Focus your time on dollar productive activities. Think of all the things you do in your world, whether you're work for yourself or work for an employer. All the things that you do that maybe your time and energy could be used somewhere else. And also, if you're working for someone else, maybe there's some side hustle or two that you can do that may work for you. So back when I was selling a lot, there wasn't a lot of technology. I think it's really hard weighing out how much time to spend in those areas, because sometimes you can waste a lot of time, but they can also be a really good moneymaker for you. And then something we did really well when I was selling and building was we were efficient, effective, and productive. We had very simple systems. We had a plan. We worked our plan. So that's the offensive piece of this. So there are 36 people on this call, and everybody listening on the recording. Let me see a show of hands of how many of you really want your dream. How many of you really want to get somewhere in life and take it to another place? Raise your hand. Then what you have to do is do step 4, play ironclad defense. And this is the piece you guys most miss. I've coached people who made $1 million a year in the mortgage business for 15 years, and I coached them after that, and they didn't have much to show for it. because they made a lot of money and they spent like there was no tomorrow. And it was, and what good does that do? You know? So this is the piece that, you know, if you're not monitoring what's going in, coming in, what's going out, what's left to invest, how can I increase my offense? How can I take that A from 30, 50, 100, 200 a year? How can I have what's going out? You know, maybe it was 30 and you were spending 15. And then by the time it gets up to 200, hopefully it goes, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and you're making 200 a year, spending 70, and there's 130 left to invest. That's where you want to get is where, and what happens often is that, you know, the people that go 30, 50, 70, 100, 200, their expenses go 29, you know, right up with them, and they buy all the trappings. Be the person that buys the gas and the beer for the person that buys the boat. Don't buy the boat. Be that person that they love to take. You're that person. And they got the expenses, they got the insurance, they got the repairs. Think about this, you guys. You know, this is the mindset you want to have. You don't want to have a scarcity fixed mindset. You want to have an abundant mindset that helps you earn more, but you want to be mindful of what your expenses are so you know what's going out, so there's extra money, so you learn all about step 5. And that is where the rocket fuel for all of this, and that's learning to invest, you guys. Robert Kiyosaki said, it's not what you make in life, it's what you keep and what you do with what you keep that makes a difference. That's the whole key of this is learning to put your money to work for you to where, you know, you get the highest and best use of it. That, like, I look at this, and anybody who's been a long-term investor, there's cycles where, you know, I know real estate very well. From 83 to 90 in Manteca, California went like this. From 90 to 97 went like this. From 97 to 2006 or so went like this. From you know, and there's just wisdom in watching and learning cycles and finding your model and just playing it full out. I was talking to my good friend Pat Hyben. We played from about 97 to 2006 really well and became financially free during that period. If you remember, right around then, the stock market took a big dip. I don't remember when it was, right around 2008, I think it was. If we would have just taken all of our money right then and just put it in the S&P fund and forgot about it, we'd have done better than what we've done from 2008 or so to 2020. And we've done some really, really amazing investing, but we've also had some that didn't do so well. So this stuff isn't easy. It takes work. It takes studying other wise people who've been through a lot of cycles. And once again, staying away from the shysters who promise you'll get yachts and fancy cars. Forget all that. That's not what wealth's about, you guys. I mean, that's not how I see it. So going back to the nitty gritty, and Hector, if you have any questions or if there are any, let me know. I'm just rambling on. So go back to the basics of this. And this was once again for my friends in real estate. And this is what I know is we just hit singles and doubles, and we'd buy them right, and they'd cash flow, and we'd, you know, just hold on to what made sense, and then just kept getting more and more singles and doubles, learning other what would I say, ways to do it, and seeing other people's models. And then this is just like anything else. The challenge is implementing World 2, which is your own investing business and playing this business of your life game while you're juggling your day job and your families and all that. You guys are in the trenches. There's a lot of work. And I'm saying, hey, find a little time for even more. And maybe it's getting up a little earlier. Maybe it's cutting out that extra cocktail at night. I don't know what it is, but you're worth it, and take the time to do this, because this is how real change happens. So.
Hey, Tim, one thing that I think helped me a lot as someone who's very much earlier in this journey, and this happened when we were playing Cash Flow out with Kiyosaki in Arizona a couple of years ago. But in that game, there are small deals and big deals, or small deals or large deals. And one great piece of advice to winning the game, but then it also, for me, was a big aha moment, was you talked a lot about taking the small deals at first and then kind of working up. And you talked about the singles and doubles, but can you elaborate on that kind of mindset and concept, and maybe give a couple of examples of what that means? Because I feel like, at least I know for me, it seemed daunting, and so I didn't have any clarity or a sense of real direction. But when you kind of gave that mindset, it was like, for me, it was like, okay, get the first one, and then kind of work from there. So can you elaborate on that big deal, small deal concept?
Sure. If you guys aren't familiar with Robert Kiyosaki's game Cash Flow, and you really want to do this, I suggest you buy it and play it with some friends. It really helps you practice what we're talking about here. And it's a really good game to understand a balance sheet, understand your own financial, how much am I bringing in from earned income? How much are my monthly expenses? If I buy this rental property and it brings in $200 a month more, and then buy another one and it brings in $500, and my expenses are $5,000 a month, and pretty soon I keep doing this over 5, 7, 10, 15, maybe 20 years. My passive income from my investments will be more than what it costs me to live. And that's what happened for me, you guys. I was 40 years old and I had more coming in from rental income than what it cost me. And I got the choice to do whatever I want to do going forward. And that was after, just so you know, 15 years of playing this game in the trenches every freaking day. This did not happen overnight. There is no get rich quick. Anybody sells yachts, dump them. What you're seeing here is the small deals. This is the first step of this. And if you look at step 6, it's moving you to the big deals. And that's exchange to World 3, compound, and go live your one life. This is when you turn your game board over, or some people are doing, bigger deals along the way. But so what you do is like, if you get, a few single families and stuff like that, you can exchange them for larger deals. For like, as an example, I got a building leased to AutoZone in Knoxville, Tennessee. My friend Andrew Cushman does apartment investing in the South that we do deals in. And that's the bigger deals that come over time. And at this point, you're, either investing in stuff like this and still doing your day job or whatever your, gig is to make you money. That's one model. Or you're more into this yourself, like a lot of my friends in GoBundance and people, that I've surrounded myself with that love playing this game so much. I just talked to one on a call I just got off of. The dude's in his early 50s. He owns like 250 pieces of real estate, 250 units, is financially free, and he has no goals in the future to retire because he loves what he's doing so much, and he's also traveling and, having a great life. So, everybody's, how can I put this? Well, on their way looks different because everybody likes their own model, but this is the outcome, for those that want financial freedom, is to get to the point where you're past step 5, which is you very active in, your rentals and managing and stuff like that. Let me see if I had anything else I want to make sure we touched on there. So, and I don't know how many people in this call are at the step 6 level, but when I got there, just so you know, I took CCIM classes. I spent a lot of time, much more time, talking to super sharp friends like, David Osborne and that know asset classes well and know where to invest your money. Frankly, I love One Life so much, and skiing and my family, I personally don't do any of this. I just find people like Osborne, Andrew Cushman, and others and invest in their projects. And that's something, if you're an accredited investor, I have some super sharp friends that, that know how to invest, aren't get rich quick, have been doing this a while, been through cycles. So. Does anybody have any questions so far? I've been rambling a lot.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for anyone to unmute themselves or throw a question in the chat.
Yeah, even if you have been doing this for some time and can relate to something I said or question anything here, think there there may be a better way. I am open. So.
I have a question.
Sure.
This is Tamara. I am wondering, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to jump on at the very, very beginning. I was finishing up another call, but can you guys send us this spreadsheet or this worksheet that you're showing us?
We'd be happy to.
Yeah, we'll put it back in the chat again. I'll put another link in there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. And if you have a question and you don't feel like talking, you can put it in the chat. So,
what's up, Tim? Tim, it's Chris.
Hi, Chris.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Hey, how do you prioritize everything in your life during that time?
That's a great question. No, and I know where you are. Let's just go over from let's use you as a model. Okay. You
Sure.
Work full time and you make good money, what you're doing, right? And you're investing in real estate and stuff on the side, right? And building
Absolutely.
that business. Yeah. And you have 3 kids?
2 kids.
2 kids. Whoops. How old are your kids?
Maybe a third, maybe.
See, there's something I know that you don't yet. So you're a great example of what I call in the trenches. How old are you? You're not 40 yet, right?
You're 38.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So you're in the trenches. If you remember that the first quarter, the second quarter, you're right in the middle of your third quarter, and I can't say for you, but like I would have, what are the things that are most important to you, and have those laid out on a regular basis. What does success look like? What are my KPIs for my family? It looked like this. Like for our family, every time somebody has a birthday, there's like 8 of us. We live around Reno, Nevada, and we do a birthday pretty much, all the time. So every time it's somebody's birthday. I have 3 kids. I want to spend at least 4 different quality quote dates with them through the year. I want to talk to them so many. I want to go on so many walks with Tina. I want to go away with her so many times. We're going to go on so many camping trips. all of these are my KPIs for these areas. For my health, you know, there's all the how many workouts, how many walks, how many disc golf, how many days will I ski, what's my weight, what's my body fat, so
I guess I can go off in a million different directions with that. So David got me really into journaling. That helped out immensely. Like that pretty much changed the game a little bit. I think now the problem is well, what do I focus on? What's the goal? What's the habit? You know what I mean? Like you start getting to the point where I guess that's kind of where the prioritization thing comes from. It's like, well, do I focus on all these habits of walking and paying attention to my kids and doing all this stuff? And then, okay, well, it's, I don't even know how to describe it. I think once I really get that dialed in, I'm going to the next level because I feel I'm right there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I'd look at it if I were you is what am I currently doing that no longer serves me? You know, because I'm so busy, because I'm in these trenches, because I want to grow in these areas. And correct me if I'm wrong, are you moving towards not being in your day job anymore someday?
So here's the latest thing. So I decided to sell my house, pretty expensive house. I'm trying to get a cheap house so I could be up kind of near Daniel Ramsey and some of the other guys. So I'll be closer to the guys that are really killing it. And I should have no mortgage because of house hacking and or just a cheap house. Beautiful. So that will technically I could retire then and my wife would just work. This just came up a couple months ago, and we're acting on it right now. So that's
cool. Yeah, that's something you won't quote retire. You know what I mean? So what would you do? What would you do instead with that time?
Flip 3 houses and work on cars and sell cars and travel and go bonus trips and
get the goods.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like
it's not retiring, just doing more stuff that I'd like to do, right?
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Because there came about 3 or 4 while we were talking.
Thanks, Tim.
Hey, my pleasure, buddy. So first of all, my niece Becca, and I doubt, asked, "What do you do when your spouse isn't as into this?" Tina's never been as into this as I am. It just is the way it is, Becca. There's usually one that is way into it and one you're kind of dragging along, kicking and screaming. I specifically remember we're down in Manteca, we're going for a walk. I'm talking about living up here someday, what it's going to take, the sacrifices we're going to need to make, how she's going to have to blah, 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 blah. She listens, and as soon as I get done, she goes, "There's these amazing new Bose speakers I want to get." It's just, you know, and don't get me wrong, Tina's not a big spender. You know her, Becca. But my point is there's probably not too many couples on this call. There's probably one person that's on that's really into this, and you're the dreamer, you're the planner. And what your mission is, Becca, is to sell the dream to Keith. You got to sell him what this all looks like. And I think I'm unstable, so I'm going to take my thing off for a sec. Yeah, you've got to help him see the importance of what you're doing, and then just kind of walk him through all of it, and kind of steer the boat towards where you want to go. Does that make sense? And I see here, you know, about Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. That's a great book to get, but read it and then and then you take it from there. Becca, do you do the bills in your family? If you can talk, it's okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's funny. I'll talk to you offline on this, Becca. So, Hector, if you caught any other questions, let me know.
Yeah, well, I think one other one that might be that kind of add on was from Russell. He said, what did you recommend to someone who's on this path to financial freedom but feels like they don't have any allies or friends and family not quite on the same level?
Got it. Hey, Cheryl, I'm going to, after I answer this, I'm going to ask you to get on and talk about you and Shawn, if you don't mind, and just what you guys have, how you've grown, where you were when I first met you and what you did and what. Okay. Do you mind?
No problem.
Okay. So, and I think it was Andy that asked that question.
Russell asked the one about not having people on the same level as them or allies surrounding them. Andy has another one about real estate.
Yeah, I wonder, I don't know where you live, Russell, but there's more and more, how can I put this? Like connected communities from our world, whether it's Hal's Miracle Morning and One Life People. GoBundance is working on having a junior varsity next year and expanding chapters all over the country. There's going to be more and more opportunities for people to meet like-minded people. And what I would suggest is you might even post in the One Life community of, hey, does anybody live in wherever you live? I'd love to sit down and talk to more people like me. Or even if you don't, I'm looking for a mastermind person. I found my mastermind buddies, Pat Hyben and David Osborne, at a Money Matters conference in Chicago in 2004. And if you know the GoBundance story, that changed our lives. So you just don't know where you're going to find these people. One thing I want to say is the people that don't understand this, be gentle to them. It's not like you just have a different path. You don't have the correct path. You know what I mean? There's nothing more turn off-ish than a righteous person that all of a sudden knows it all. So talk about, get vulnerable, get transparent, know the numbers of the people you can have these conversations with. And Becca, I'm on yours. But don't make Keith feel bad. He's bringing in good money. He's working really hard. You know what I mean? And for him not to be as into this as you are and you need to lead, no worries. That's normal. Sometimes it's the guy, sometimes it's the lady, sometimes there's both people pedaling together. But whatever it is, work with them gently to bring them along, if that makes sense. Okay. I hope I answered your question. And then what was the other one, Hector?
It looked like Andy had a question about finding financing in Canada. Said finding financing for rentals is difficult. They have one property. They want to keep building their portfolio. What do you recommend to find the investors, lenders for property investment?
I'm familiar with the challenges there in Canada. I would I'd do one of two things. Find people in Canada who have done what you're trying to do, or find different models in different areas where you might be able to buy into them. I'm much more into buying into your own area. As I was building, remember I talked about 17 properties with 52 tenants. Those were all in Manteca when I was in the trenches. I knew my area. If you can do it in your own area, do it there. But if you need to, a lot of people buy in the Midwest for cash flow and stuff. Just be careful and get to know what you're doing if it's outside your area.
Tim, Ernesto had one that I missed, and he said, any recommendations on correct insurance and trust to protect yourself and assets?
Yeah, I wouldn't. A lot of people oversell asset protection, like, and have people go out and do LLCs before they even own anything and stuff. So don't overdo it, but absolutely you want to make sure if you don't have a living trust and you have kids, you should. This is called adulting. You need to make a living trust that has a will. You can do them on, legal Zoom for next to nothing. I would have that if you're just starting out. If you're well on your way and you have assets to protect, I would make sure that you go to get with a good lawyer, and I could talk to anybody that needs that offline here. But those are just the things you do to get your financial house in order. And a really good source on this is Garrett Gunderson, Killing Sacred Cows and What Would the Rockefellers Do. My wife Tina and I went through his whole program. We hired them to do this for us. They updated our trust and they updated our asset protection, and they're helping us put in place, kind of like leaving our financial legacy for the next generation. Cheryl, why don't you give an update to, let's say you're on this call right now and you're going, well, this is all great. Hector, get off this step 6 page, put it back up to the dream or the core 4 and the fulfillment triangle. So somebody just starting out who's, level 1 of financial apprentice, and they're just starting out, doesn't feel overwhelmed. Matter of fact, please go back to that page, the 5 levels of financial freedom. And let's assume that you're either a rookie or an apprentice and you're listening to this. And Cheryl Lowry, when you and Shawn met me, you were financial apprentices, I'd say. Tell them your story and what you guys did.
So Shawn is in real estate, obviously, for those of you who know us, and he found Tim on a random podcast and then pursued him for coaching. So when Shawn started coaching with Tim, he got very clear on his vision. We decided where we wanted to move to. We had 2 young children at the time. We still do, but they were much younger. We were living in a mediocre section of the area and wanted to upgrade. So we needed to save, and we were far in debt. Shawn had left his original job and started flipping and doing real estate. And we were not doing well right away. Let's just say that. It was definitely a long haul. So we also did the Dave Ramsey stuff. We paid off our $94K in debt in 7 months. Bought a house exactly where we wanted, in the neighborhood we wanted, so our kids could go to the schools that we wanted. So we've been through all of these 5 levels, and sometimes we go backwards and sometimes we go forwards, and it's a roller coaster for sure. And I think what we've found, especially now, is that being really clear on your vision, having a goal and a plan is the first step and the most important step.
Beautiful, Cheryl. Thank you so much for sharing. You said a really good point. I'm sure there's people who are on the, financial star to financial superstar who can relate to, sometimes we go backwards, and sometimes we're rocking and rolling, and then we have a bad year in sales, or maybe we go through, a very difficult period with an aging parent or something that throws us off our game. And that's why it's so important to have the marathon plan, a huge why of where am I going. And it's also important to be gentle with yourself. This isn't a race. Please don't compare yourself to others. This is all about you and living your best life and you playing your game full out for you. So think about that. If you're a little off your game and maybe you're not having the year you had last year, don't beat yourself up. Another thing to do along those lines, and I'd love, Hector, if you could send or maybe put in the chat the article that I'd written as far as use others' talents to to get you somewhere. And I'll just tell that story really quick. I was retired and had a year. I looked up right before we started GoBundance. I had started One Life and I was just so distracted. I didn't look at my investments. I wasn't weeding my garden. And I met with Pat Hyben and David Osborne up in Portland, Oregon, and we went over goals. And I had spent 180 that year, 15,000 a month, and I'd only brought in 150, and I was upside down. And they got on my case, as good mastermind buddies would, and they poked at me. They said, "Tim, what are you going to do? Are you going to flip houses? Are you going to go back to work? Are you going to sell real estate?" And this is like, and I got my friend Andrew Cushman, who I coached 5 years later as a brilliant real estate investor, and I knew he was starting to buy apartment complexes. So I put Andrew with David, Pat, and myself, and we started an entity called DAT, David, Andrew, Pat, and Tim, and we've since bought 12 apartment complexes in the South. Andrew is our horse. David could qualify for any loans. So I kind of put this whole thing together, and this is a profit center that pays me from 100 to 300,000 a year now. And I don't do jack, you guys. This came out of the ether. So, think out of the box. That use your connections, use your wits. And that's why it's so important to take time away and not be so busy that you're pedaling on this hamster wheel that you don't take time to think. Okay? But it's not always about working harder.
Great stuff. Guys, if you guys have any other questions, make sure you get them in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand and I'll let you unmute yourself. But one that came in from Russell as well, which I think is a great question, is he said, I'll try and sum it up here, but he said that he doesn't have a real, he said some people have a real clear vision. He has a difficult time coming up with a clear answer to what he would do with his time, if he didn't have to work. So for someone who's in a place where they're trying to figure that out, what would you say? He says he just doesn't want to sit around and live in self-indulgence.
So let me give you a couple examples. My good friend Pat Hyben, if any of you know him, he's from the real estate world. He wrote 6 Steps to 7 Figures, New York Times best-selling author, started Pat Hyben Digital, did 800, 1,000 podcasts. He got sick of it. He sold that business. He just went to India trying to figure out what's next for him, Russell. And he came back, and here's what he came up with. He's got 2 new gigs. One, he just got licensed as a rickshaw driver. You heard me, right? A rickshaw driver in Folly Beach, California, Folly Beach, South Carolina. He's going to be on call 3 days a week. They call him. He drives up in his rickshaw. He drives couples around this beautiful beach town. He's out getting fresh air. He's getting amazing exercise. He's a social being. He doesn't own the company, which he doesn't want. And then he's also, we talked about, like, what if he served veterans, like a veteran was in his rickshaw, and he got done. He said, "Sir, I can't take your money. Thank you for your service." What if he has this young couple that he drives, and they go out to dinner, and he can just tell they're a young couple without much money, and he pulls the guy aside when the guy goes to pay him, and he says, "Hey, buddy, spend a little extra on her tonight. You owe me nothing." He's financially free. He can do these things. That's one of them. His second thing is he's going to be volunteering more at his local, not SPCA, something like the SPCA, the Humane Society. He's going to spend a day or 2 a week there. And he's just found different ways to serve. He's found what I found, 10 years ago. It's not about money anymore when you get to this point. It's about making a difference in your own way and serving. And that's how Pat's, he's going to drive a freaking rickshaw in Folly Beach. So I don't know what the answer is for you, Russell, but there is no answer that is right or wrong except the answer that's right for you. And that's what One Life Fully Lived is all about, is no one can tell you what is best for you. And we have different incarnations, and where that fulfillment triangle looked like last year, 5 years ago, hopefully it evolves. You know, you constantly evolve into these new incarnations. And that's why those 4 levels of, those 4 different quarters of life, you know, we're evolving slowly over the big picture, but we're every day checking in to see what works and what doesn't. And having the patience to do your day job and the discipline, you know, and sometimes it's not easy. And some of you are on that hamster wheel right now, and it's not easy stuff, but you're doing all of that full out while you're creating this, and you're setting yourself up for those future incarnations. What have I missed, Hector?
Tim, question, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. This is Felicia Keith Jones. And anyway, I have a couple of young friends that are fresh out of the military, females, and they are wanting to be, they're wanting to learn how to put their life together outside of the military and kind of redirect their lives, because they feel like they have a specific skill set that probably doesn't lend itself so well to the rest of civilian life. What is the best advice you would give for the circle of influence for young people? Can you address that a little bit?
Yeah, I would definitely make sure that somehow, some way they're tapping into this kind of community. You know, just like they're in the One Life community, they're in the Miracle Morning community, and then I don't know where they live, but the more of these conversations you can have with people that speak this language, that speak the language of abundance. If you think about it, we're seekers wanting an abundant life and willing to do the hard work to do it. And the more people like that you can have in your life, and that's why Hector, it'd probably be wise to put that last slide up. And I don't want to, I want to respect everybody's time, but Felicia, that's my answer, is the more they can up their top 5 of the people, you know, that they're having relationships with, and you can incorporate them with others that, you know, are along this path. I know in Reno, we've had some meetups there, and that's something I'd love to have more, especially at Highmark in 2020. So,
and the girls are listening right now, so thank you, Tim. I just wanted you to address those that they surround themselves with do make a difference, and you addressed that beautifully. So thank you.
Yeah, and once again, and I said this earlier, the people that are, you know, it'll never work, that they know in their lives, and you know, that are just challenged but aren't doing anything to move forward. Sometimes you need to neutralize people. It's not like you make them bad or tell them that I'm not going to be seeing you anymore because you don't fit where I'm going. That's rude, and no one needs to hear that. You simply find more time for the people that have the abundance mindset, that are willing to get vulnerable with you and be transparent and root for you, you know, that know what you want to get and hope that you get it. So, yeah. I hope I answered that well for you, Felicia. So,
you sure did. Thank you.
Sure. Was there one more slide below about, or I see, don't worry about it, Hector. So we didn't, you know, what Felicia was talking about ties right into this. Just in the One Life Roadmap Journal, we talk about relationships with yourself, and that's going deep and doing the inner work to help you figure out what is my dream, what is my plan. Relationships with others, that top 5 we just talked about, the young ladies getting out of the service. Who's my posse? Who am I spending the time around? And then most also important with relationships is who are my mentors? Who's teaching me? Who am I learning from? Just so you know, you guys, I'm 60 years old. I have 2 coaches right now. I have Dr. Phil Toll, who's going to be on one of our upcoming masterclass calls, and I have Lane, who's going to be on one of our upcoming masterclass calls. And I'm still learning, growing, and thriving. Who's coaching you? You know, who's taking you to the next level? So, and that's on relationships, and then on wellness, to tie in the core 4 to all of this. What good is the journey without being healthy in your mind, body, and spirit to enjoy it all? If I had 2 things I'd change if I could go back. Number 1, I chain smoked cigarettes from 14 to I would not have done that. And number 2, my self-talk when I was younger was not good. It candidly was like, you know, I'll just say it, you suck, show me something. That's what went through my head all day. And now my self-talk is, I like you, dude. You know, it's much gentler and much nicer. And if you notice, I'm talking about being gentler and nicer to others. That starts with how you are to yourself. So think about the conversations you're having with yourself, and treat your mind, body, and spirit like the, you know, beautiful person that you are, and it will help all those other core 4 steps to get you there. And that's enjoying the ride along the way. So, Hector, we should wrap this up and get to our commercials.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We'll send out these slides afterwards, so you guys have them, and I'll put the link in the chat before we sign off one more time. But we do just want to give you guys a couple of reminders. Tim mentioned that we have master classes with some of the most high-level experts, frankly, on the planet. And this month, we are having the legend of personal finance, Robert Kiyosaki. He's going to be spending some time with our contributor club members. It's an exclusive call, so there'll be, you know, only a small group of people on, and he's donated his time to the One Life community because he believes in what we're doing, and he believes in what you guys are doing. And so if you guys are in the contributor club, you guys will get access to that. It's Tuesday, January 21st. Or if you're not in the contributor club, there's still time to get in. Just go to onelifefullylived.org/support, and you guys can get in. There's a bunch of other cool perks that come along with the group as well. And then next month, we also have a couple of workshops coming up. So we thought that the conference was great, but instead of just doing it one time a year, we wanted to go out and now we're going to be visiting about 6 different cities throughout the U.S. And next month, our first 2 stops are in Sacramento and Los Banos. And so if you guys are in Northern California, close to NorCal, or just want to come out and connect with the One Life community, all of the workshops are like a condensed conference, and they cover all 4 core pillars that are, you know, that we focus here on One Life: vision planning, relationships, finances, and wellness, and also gives you an opportunity to connect with the community and give back to, you know, a wonderful cause, because these are actually the events that go in and support the Dare to Dream events that we'll be hosting for students and for people who are suffering from homelessness and domestic violence, and you know, really going through some challenging times. We're going to be able to bring One Life to them because of the attendees to this workshop. So you can go to onelifefullylived.org/events, or there's some, if you guys know where you want to go, you can go to, you know, /Sacramento or /LB, depending on which of the workshops you want to come out to. So we'd love to see all of you guys out there, and the entire schedule for our One Life Roadmap workshops for 2020 is up on our website as well, so you guys can check that. We'll be touching down in Dallas and Philadelphia, and there's a few other places that are escaping my mind right now, but we'll be there this year. Tim, Susan, anything that you guys want to add before we sign off?
Yeah, I'd just like to add on these roadmap workshops. They're really good to bring like mature kids, let's say 13 and older, your spouse who you're trying to get more into this, your team, and your office. Your conversations with whomever you bring to this will never be the same, especially if like Russell some of you that are looking to grow your community, that once again, that's where I met Pat Hyben and David Osborne, was at an event like this. And this is where you meet the people that make those amazing changes in help you make them, because they're doing the same thing. And it just puts something in the ether that helps connect and make it all happen better. That's one thing. And then if you're not in our contributor club, consider joining at the $99 level. You'll get Kiyosaki. I know Jeff Hoffman's going to be on one. Neil Godfrey, Christopher Lockhead, David Osborne, just a lot of our superstar people in our community. And we'll be interviewing them. Just so you know, when I was just starting out and going from just starting out to on my way to well on my way, I went to Kiyosaki's. I went to one of his events. I bought his cash flow game. I played every quarter with my small mastermind. And after we played, I'd take my personal cash flow game board sheet and update it. And I literally used what he taught to do what you're trying to do. So this is going to be amazing to have Robert, who absolutely loves us, loves our community, loves what we're doing. He's a little out there. He's fun, but we're gonna help him help you dial this in. So please just know that all the money, whether it's our contributor club or coming to our events, it helps us, as we say, throw the rope down to those that never hear anything like this. And that's where our true passion is helping lift and empower those that just never get this chance to have these kind of conversations. We want this to become the norm, not the exception. A lot of you have said, I can't get my husband, or I can't find people like to talk about this. This is a counterculture. This should be what the topic of conversations at dinner and stuff should be about. So, doggone it.
Wonderful. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and finish the recording here. We want to thank you for coming on and hanging out with us. Our next call is February 12th. It's our Valentine's Day call, and we will be here with some very special people who actually are going to be releasing a book. The Culinanes will be releasing a new version of the book, and so we'll have them on next month's call talking about long-lasting love and marriage and all that fun stuff. So come and hang out with us February 12th, same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern.